I have a distinct memory of when I realized that technology had passed me by and I was going to play catch up for the rest of my life. We spent a couple years in our mid-20s living overseas, and the cell phones we had over there were pretty rudimentary, old school, back to the late 90s type cell phone. We came back after 3 years and went to a party with some friends, just at dinner with a couple folks, and the amount of smartphone use at that table blew us away. Talk about culture shock. We had culture shock to be back in the US, culture shock at this weird sushi hamburger fusion restaurant. But the real culture shock was all of these people staring at their phones, showing pictures on their phones, watching videos on their phones. We'd sort of heard this had happened, but we missed the 3 years where the smartphone took off. And I feel like for the last 17 years of my life, I have just been riding this technology wave about 6 months behind everything. And so here we are recording a video about technology, and I feel with the advent of AI, maybe I'm further back than 6 months behind. You're the young guy of our pairing. You came to our church as the big tech guy. Where are you now when it comes to our use of technology?
That's a good question. I remember when I got here, you told me, yeah, it just seems like the youngest guy on a church staff inevitably becomes the IT specialist.
That's exactly right.
Because they know how to do whatever settings. And that's proven true, actually. When I got here, though, I was definitely more involved. We were just reminiscing moments ago about how when I showed up, I think I had one of everything. Right? I had the smartwatch, the smartphone, the iPad, the laptop, the special backpack that had the pocket for the watch and the phone and the iPad and everything. And I have friends who I remember having conversations with. Oh, you need this pouch because it fits these cables and blah 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 blah. Now it feels very odd to think about where I was when I got here, because now I'm handwriting my sermons. I'm not even using my computer to type them out anymore. And it feels like a different world to try and reminisce about those things, because I really have tried to sort of strip these things away. I think when I got here, I even had social media accounts that I've all but deleted, most if not all of them. My wife suffers through me using her Facebook for Facebook Marketplace. So,
yeah.
So that's kind of where I am now, and that's not to say, obviously, I saw the evils of technology, but I certainly saw my own weaknesses as it comes in contact with them. Yeah. Now I'm in my mid-30s, and I feel left behind. A lot of people ask me how I use AI, like you said. I don't know. So this sounds like a conversation neither of us are equipped for.
That's right.
In some way, right?
So we're going to think together, maybe foolishly, on how to wisely use technology.
Yeah.
We started off talking about some hardware. What we're really thinking about is the kind of soft side of technology. We're not talking about technological inventions. It's a massive category that we could put a lot of things under. What's top of mind for us is screens, which I guess is a hardware thing, but there's screens everywhere in our lives. Social media, which we consume via our screens. And then you just mentioned it, AI.
Yeah.
And so those are sort of things that are on our minds. We're getting pastoral questions about them. We've noticed issues as we observe how Christians live, how we live, how our parents live, how our children live, right? How does technology affect us? And Christians don't have an option to be all in. Mm-hmm. We don't have the option. We can come close like you maybe have, but what's it called, a Luddite? To be all out, right? Completely anti-tech. We live in the real world.
Right.
So how can we think about living wisely, right, in this tech-filled world that tech, by definition, is always changing? So maybe top of this discussion is to start with the idea of just the medium of these things in the first place.
Right.
We want to get to the content, what we actually do with AI and social media, but purely the medium of screens. So, I mean, we're not that far apart, but you grew up, how many screens in your childhood home?
Oh, too many.
Too many?
That's my answer today. I mean, we had a TV pretty much in every living room. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a space, a sitting space that didn't have a screen. And then, my childhood, I was filled with that dial-up internet noise.
Yes.
So we had the computer room. Now that was back when the screens were a lot bigger.
Right.
At least a lot deeper because of the technology had not advanced. So, but it certainly, I recall going outside. I recall the yell, dinner, whereas, I've heard that now there are a lot of childhoods that were indoors, primarily indoors, and I don't connect with that. I don't. But as the screen has gotten smaller and smaller, obviously, and more technologically advanced and rich, the pictures are crisper and the image is more real. The draw to them, to the screen, is definitely different. But I think you're keying in on, well, even go 20 years before I was born, there were screens in homes, right? The TV's been around a long time now, and it really has shaped people. It really has, not just their personalities. I think we think about that a lot. What is this person like because they consume so much TV? I really want to know, and I think you want to know, I think really what this conversation is about is, how does technology affect someone's being? Not just how they present, not just their social anxieties or their social cues or whatever, but who they are. That's a really important question. So how many screens did you grow up with? You're a lot older than me.
Yeah. It's funny, I grew up with 2.
All right.
And then a third, we had a TV in the living room, TV in the bedroom, and a computer screen, cutting edge computer. Yeah. I was only allowed to watch limited amounts of TV, especially when a Duke game was on.
Well,
my sister could go back in the bedroom and she could watch a show while we're watching the Duke game. So I would sprint during commercials to go back and watch the show to get as much screen time. But the irony is that the TV goes on and off, and you go to bed. Even if it's in your bedroom, you don't bring it into the bed with you. And now people have 1 to 2 screens attached to them, right? The watch, and then the phone that is never more than a foot away from your person.
Power strip with 7 chargers.
Right. Yeah. We have a little little technology basket for our family, and we don't have enough plugs because we got so much tech that's its home. But I think a concern I have as pastorally, before we think about the things that we interact with, is simply the screen itself.
Right.
And the passive nature of watching, and really it's scrolling, kind of passively, endlessly. It's, as much as we comment and like, it's really a one-directional interaction.
Right.
And when we talk about the medium, we're thinking about the way in which the content is presented. So a book is a medium.
Right.
Right. A painting is a medium, and a screen is a different type of medium. And I'm no sort of media ecologist, but I've read enough to know that prolonged exposure is bad for us. It's dangerous. And many of our iPhones give us this weekly screen time report. I don't know anybody that's happy with their screen time report, because we intuitively know, even if we don't have the facts to back it up, this has not been good for me this week. Whereas being out in the sun, touching grass, throwing a ball, right, swimming, right, just cooking, woodwork, any of these tactile things, we know that medium is sort of a net positive.
Right.
But purely the medium itself, it's dangerous, and we know it's dangerous. And so I think we seek ways to minimize it in our lives. And I think as Christians, let's not be fools about it. Let's acknowledge what the world knows to be true, the danger of the medium itself.
Yeah, that's right. I don't know of anybody, maybe you could point them out to me, who complains that their son, their daughter, their spouse reads too many books. It's never been a thing. Maybe to give a more direct example, maybe of what we're talking about when we think about the medium, irrespective of content right now, is, you think about if you and I are at dinner or, just in the office, and we're just talking, and one of us asks a question, it's like, oh, that's a good question. There's just a tendency for both of us, for everybody in that situation, to go, let me find out, right? And put our hand in our pocket, right?
Yeah.
Whereas, and so we might critique ourselves, the screen time report, all those different things. you and I, as pastors, we have some books, maybe a handful, right, on the shelves in our offices. If we were to ask that question and I were to turn around and pull a book off the shelf and say, that's a great question, and open, suddenly you see, again, irrespective of the content, I might be opening up the piece of Bible software that has that same book in it to read that material. And yet, there's something both about how I receive the material. The immediate access, right? The inability to wait. We talked about patience in another discussion. There's also then, I think, the issue of our relationship. The person or people that I'm with as I whip that phone out and Wikipedia, whatever, because I love a good Wikipedia hole, right? But to do that suddenly disconnects us. I do think that there is a physical element going on with that medium too. So, I just have a smattering of thoughts about this, but that's the one that strikes me the most. Nobody complains about too much time in a book.
Yeah.
Nobody complains about too much journaling or too much writing.
Yeah.
But everybody knows there's too much time on a phone.
Yeah.
Everybody knows there's too much time behind a TV screen. And what do we do with that?
Yeah.
That's the real question. So, okay, we're not talking about the wheel like you were joking about in discussing this. We're certainly not talking about, cars, whatever. Of course, I think screens have made their ways into cars too, but we'll talk about that some other time. That's my idea about the medium of these screens. That's when we say technology, that's really what we're talking about here in terms of the medium. What comes to your mind as to the maybe, I'll just put my neck out there, the dangers of this medium?
Yeah, I think the way it affects interpersonal communication is huge.
Yeah.
A profound study I read a few years ago about they sort of analyzed conversation at a lunch table between friends having lunch together. And they discovered that the presence of a phone on the table significantly decreases the amount of connection happening.
Just the presence.
Even if it's face down and it's
incredible.
never touched.
Yeah.
The presence of the phone at the table. And I thought that says all you need to know about that. I'll choose myself as an example. I will think at times, man, I am exhausted. I just got to veg out for a minute. Crash on the couch. 15 minutes later, I felt like I've been looking at my phone for 90 seconds. It's been 15 minutes. I get up. Am I refreshed? No, of course I'm not refreshed. There's a million other things I could have done in the moment that would have made me refreshed. I'm gonna try it again tonight though. Like it's just like it has that.
Well, they're addictive.
They are
yeah,
dopamine hit addictive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that certainly is a segue into content. But before we do that, I just want to let me play devil's advocate with you for a moment about the interpersonal. Okay, a phone face down on a table.
Trust the science.
Come on, what are we talking about here? Like, how does that actually affect interpersonal relationships?
Yeah.
Right. Give me a little more on that. Not because
sure.
I don't believe you. I actually do.
Yeah,
But I can imagine somebody pushing back. Okay, Sean, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think personal connection takes attentiveness,
Yeah.
right? The oldest thing in the book about eye contact when you're talking to somebody, posture when you're talking to somebody, checking your phone, even if it's just a glance. You know, this is most sad and most profound is parents with their children.
Yeah.
And I'm so good at spotting it in other parents. I just never do it myself.
That's right.
The times I've caught myself, there's a lively conversation happening in my living room, and I'm looking at my phone. It's unreal. It's unreal to me, like looking in the mirror at myself. What in the world am I doing, right? Because there's something important coming on my phone. I got to get back to this person.
The justifications are endless, aren't
They're
they?
endless.
Yeah.
They're endless.
Yeah.
And so, we're bashing technology. That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
We're going to talk. We'll close with some happy stuff,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because it's a wonderful tool. But I think I want Christians to really weigh the negative impact.
That's right.
That these things have on us, and on our interpersonal connection is a Christian thing. God has created us for connection. We are relational people. Things that break that connection they're detrimental, right, to our relationships. And so, that is an interrupting medium. So it's my personal life, my doom scrolling, and the negative effect it has on my mentals, my self-image, the way I view the rest of the world. And then in relationship, it has a destructive effect an in-person relational connection.
Yeah, and I don't want to belabor this, but I'm going to pull out a soapbox and step on it for a moment on just how much I loathe digital Bibles. I'm just going to go there.
Okay.
And I say that as a preacher and a teacher, right? Not because I have a digital Bible on my phone. I have the Bible software that I use. I can access my Greek and Hebrew, right? Okay. I'm not saying that they're sinful. But I'll be there preaching a sermon, teaching a Sunday school class. I know what happens. You pull out your phone, you open your Bible on your phone, and then your buddy texts you something. And then that screen changes. And this is the key difference in the medium, right? Isn't it? Between a book and a screen. If your Bible is there, well, I know what's open. If your screen is there, all I can see is that little company logo in the back, right? And so there is a privacy thing to it that suddenly disconnects you. I don't know what's going on. And so it is physically between us. But there's also an issue as a teacher. I'm trying to connect in my lesson. I'm not trying to, okay, just be quiet and listen to me. No, I want there to be interaction, even body language, that type of stuff. And so, okay, I get hit for being a Luddite because I encourage people don't use digital Bibles. When you're, sitting in the pews at church or in a Sunday school class or a Bible study, okay, that's not a blanket rule. But just let's acknowledge the fact that it has a different effect in that interpersonal relationship. As a teacher, it can throw me off. And really, it's all about me, right? No, it's that now I'm not giving my best because I don't know what's going on here. Because suddenly the relationship isn't as defined as it once was in history.
No, I think this gets back to my insistence on the importance of the medium because ironically now the screen is the medium for everything. Right. So we're playing a game, we're checking our bank account, we're reading a good book, we're reading a comic book, we're reading the Bible, we're texting with friends, we're looking at something we shouldn't look at. It's all mediated through that same medium. Take my childhood, you would go to a friend's house and say, hey, let's get the Nintendo out and put the Bible cartridge in and look at the Bible on the Nintendo, right? Because that medium does not convey sort of the weight of the scriptures. Now,
Well, there's that joke, right? Like with us old people, where you'd have to hide the book you really wanted to read inside the book, right? You now you just have to slide to the right a bit at the bottom of your phone screen, right? I mean, the hiding and so again, I do think that just contributes, and that's an inherent distrust. It just is, whether it's conscious or not, too. It is always there, and I always have the ability, even as a user, to justify myself and lie. By saying, oh, no, I wasn't on Instagram. I wasn't watching my pastors have a discussion on technology on YouTube. I was doing something more important. I got a very important email. I was texting with my mother, right? When in reality you weren't. And you can just never know. Yeah.
And there's a great book about this, about sort of breaking out of this addictive habit we're in. And the author talks about the designers of smartphones and the alerts we get have studied how slot machines work. And the random prizes that come on a slot machine pull are analogous to the buzz you get on your phone.
Really?
Like, what is that buzz going to tell me? And what is the next refresh on my Facebook page going to tell me? In reality, it's nothing. You're getting no rewards, but you think you're getting rewards. Or maybe you want something good out of every 10, and it's that random sense of positive rewards that keeps the dopamine.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to miss the good notification. I don't want to miss the important. Yeah. And it's not 1 in 10. It's not 1 in 20.
No.
It's not even 1 in 100, I bet.
Yeah.
But again, the justifications are in this.
So let's look behind the screen.
Yeah. We could keep going.
Yeah. The irony is what's some of the best content you could have on your phone? Maybe a Bible app. But don't show Pastor Jim.
Yeah.
But what are we doing? So we've gotten past the medium to the actual thing. Top of mind is social media. So YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. What else are kids? Snapchat, TikTok.
The kids these days.
What are the kids using these days? And then sort of the big one, AI.
Yeah.
Right. And
we got to talk about AI.
So social media has been around for a while, and it maybe has some positive goods, but as is the direction we're going on this video is a little negative. So what are some of the negatives you might say, the dangers for a Christian in using social media?
Yeah, so I'm just going to say they're endless. I really do think they are. That's not to say, okay, I got rid of most of, if not all of my social media. That was a personal choice. I'm not saying that good Christians do that. But I knew that I would just fall back into scrolling, that I would just fall back into ignoring the people around me. So I got rid of them. But I also have been able to see when I had social media, the effects when I was particularly working in youth ministry of several conversations I had with parents of youth who had no idea what social media their kids had on their phones, much less how much they were using it. And I think that should be terrifying. I think any parent who doesn't believe me should go download TikTok and just don't create an account. Hit skip or whatever. Maybe you have to now. I don't know. And just scroll through a couple of videos and tell me you shouldn't be at all talking with your children about what's on there. I mean, I'm not talking about always looking over their shoulder, right, or whatever. No nanny state. Okay. I just mean basic, fundamental, like take an interest in what your kids are interested in. I think this would be very telling. The issue with social media for me then is not even so much that there's nothing good on there. No, I think that there's good uses of social media. I do. I don't think that the intent of social media is generally good. I'll put my neck out on that. I think the intent is to get you to open the app. I think the intent is to show you more ads. I mean, I remember when there weren't ads on YouTube. Now
You are old.
Yeah, I am. And now I've got to sit through, a minute and a half of a sponsored. That's ridiculous to me, right?
There's a really good documentary. It's called The Social Dilemma.
Yes, yeah.
And it gives this thesis that the product of social media is not actually the stuff on the screen, it's your eyeballs. And the social media companies are selling your eyeballs to advertisers.
Right.
And because it's free, it means you're the product. Right. And sort of we all kind of like, yeah, I know that. I'm an adult. I can handle it. Our children can't. Like they're selling children's eyeballs.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point. That when I was in youth ministry and I heard that from parents, I just went, I'm telling you right now, you need to. Because, I mean, there was speaking of other media that have come out, that book a year or two ago, Jonathan Haidt's The Anxious Generation. I mean, that's a book people need to read.
If you're a parent, you have to read that book.
Yeah, you have to. Especially if you don't believe that social media is that bad.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to maybe take a step back and say, I said earlier, there are legitimate uses. Let me give a couple of those legitimate uses so that people don't think that I'm just lying about that, doing lip service to it. I think that there are groups and ways in which communication can happen over social media that is very convenient and good. I'll never forget the church I met my wife at. They still, to this day, have a Facebook group where they put out prayer requests, announcements, and things like that. It's almost, it may have surpassed it by now, the more read thing than the announcement section of the bulletin. So
it's not saying much in some churches.
That's fair. But it is very useful. There's an immense use for it. I don't have Facebook, so if I were to go back, it does force a certain element to it, right? But I do think that is one legitimate use. It does actually bring people together, and it can foster good communication. I don't think like the main page that Facebook shows you not in chronological order, but the thing it thinks you want to see or it really wants you to see, I don't think that's the best
algorithm
use for it. I also think, there's a lot of other things. We're doing this on Instagram. We're releasing videos on YouTube, right? So there is a lot of good content out there. A lot of things that can instruct people. Hey, you mentioned in a discussion, right, about the truck and the tail light. Yeah, you could have asked somebody else to help you with that, sure. At the same time, you fixed your tail light, right? So there is some utility in that. The danger is, again, that's not how they want you to primarily use the apps. That's not how the designers, that's not how the companies want you to use it, because they get ad revenue the more you have the app open.
Yeah.
And so they're going to incentivize you to open it more and more. And what does that necessarily do? Well, we talked about it being, the phone being the medium, right? That necessarily cuts between me and you. So that's what I mean by, there are more dangers than not. Adults should theoretically be able to navigate those. I don't think we're nearly as good at that as we think we are.
Right.
Hence my more nuclear approach, perhaps. But, which is not for everybody. But I do think that we need to wrestle with the intent of the app, of the program, of the software, webware now, whatever it may be. That intent matters. Even if we can use it for something else, that intent is always there.
Yeah.
It's always lurking behind us opening the app.
Yeah.
So let's just be careful. One way I think that people can maybe mitigate that, really practical, just turn notifications off. Don't let it notify you. Sure, you can open it up whenever you want, whatever, but don't get that red dot on the corner of your app. Don't let it buzz through. And I think even a minor change like that, you can responsibly use those things. But I think if you are perpetually connected, you're disconnected from the people in front of you.
Yeah. So as we think about we're wary of the medium, we're wary of the intention of the social media in particular. When I was growing up, the decision of whether you could see a movie or not based on its content was not made by you or even your parents, right? I mean, the rankings. I mean, I wasn't allowed in R-rated movies at some point. I'm that old. I don't know if they even do that anymore. And so Christians are usually thoughtful in categories like, is the content of the media, right? Is it sexual? Does it have bad words? Is it overly violent? Sort of thinking broadly in those categories. The tricky part with social media is every post doesn't have a
That's
rating.
right. That's right.
And so you're just sort of endlessly cycling through.
Now I can hear the objection, right? Well, sometimes they do now. Sometimes it'll be blurred out, right? And there's
Yes, thankfully.
this is mature content. Are you sure you want to watch it? Or this has flashing lights for those who might have health conditions that, okay, I got to skip this one. But I mean, that's not exactly what we're talking about, is it? I mean, I think that because what came along with those ratings, those movie ratings, is, I mean, I'm old enough to remember the TV guide that came in the mail, right? And I mean, even the early days of the internet, and IMDb still does this, right? Where there are parents who comment, hey, this is what's in the movie. So it's not just the rating, but you can also do an even deeper dive into those things. Those little filters on, 1 in every 100 video about, that's not the same, all right? So I just want to maybe anticipate that objection and deal with it really quickly, because I do think you're exactly right. There is no guide to this. There is no, oversight body like there is with the Movie Picture Something Association, right? Who gives the ratings? You're just basically sending out your child into the Wild West in doom scroll land, and they can see anything.
And yourself. Let's not be naive
that's
to
true.
think that.
That's right.
Sometimes we confuse. You're not saying this, but sometimes we confuse our freedom with Christ with an ability to sort of. I'm
It means I can do anything.
Right. I can consume anything. And one thing about social media, I mean, it can communicate things that are good and true and beautiful. And so you can consume art that way. I mean, you can learn about literature that way. I mean, there's that sort of healthy use of it. But I think being more aware of at least cultivating our feed. A lot of the algorithm gives us the bad stuff because it wants to get us into a rabbit hole. It wants to pull us into what's provocative because that keeps us there. Oftentimes, again, back to our maturity recording, what's beautiful is not provocative. Right. What's good does not get the eyeballs. But sort of we need to always have our morality glasses on.
Yes.
Right. We're never mature beyond the law of God.
Right.
And so we have moral standards that must be followed in what we consume. Right. We do have freedom in Christ, but we also sort of as a category, just because it's allowable doesn't mean it's wise for me. Right. And so thinking through wisdom, a lot of what's out there is morally allowable, but it is bad for my soul.
Yeah.
It provokes anger.
All things are lawful, but not all things are helpful.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? It breeds anxiety.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard not to keep bringing this back to parents, but it's aware for ourselves as well. The Social Dilemma talks about a particular pressure on teenage girls to post a picture of themselves, and it doesn't get many likes. So what might a teenage girl do to adjust the picture of herself to get more likes?
Right.
Terrifying. That's a terrifying thought. And the movie, the documentary, it really drives the point home, not in a graphic way, but just in a realistic way of what sort of pressure are all of our kids, but our teenage daughters feeling when it comes to their own self-image for the world to see. I mean, it's terrifying to think about.
Yeah.
So just that, man, it's so good. Again, there's good things on social media. We are trying to tap into that with a video like this. I don't know if YouTube's going to post this after the last 20 minutes.
We'll find out.
We'll find out. But we know there's positives. We are just warning ourselves and our congregation and Christians seeking to act wisely to get your head out of the sand, recognize some of the dangers of this.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pivot to AI, but you have a closing thought on that?
I was just about to do the same. We've done our best to get out of it, but we're going to have to go a few minutes longer than usual, and we're going to have to talk about AI. So I know you're a big AI guy. I know you use it for pretty much everything. So tell us why we should use AI.
Oh, man.
No.
I'm just above the generation where I never use it. So
Yeah. I mean, you talk about it.
Yeah,
People ask you questions about it.
Yeah, I've experienced it sort of in two particular ways, and I'll just kind of lean into those and then let you go. Is one is sort of men and women in professions that are served by responsible use of AI. I've seen people use it that way. I should rather say I've heard them tell me about it. And from what I hear, it sounds like a reasonable, wise, in its place use of AI to help with a contract or a budget or to evaluate something they've done, something like that. I've also seen it in education, and that's where I find it to be particularly dangerous.
Yeah, that's got to be terrible.
Yeah, we're befriended a student just next door at the university here in Asheville, and she was taking a class about the positive interaction of AI in academia and how we can use AI to write our papers. And I was kind of dumbfounded that they were leaning so far into this. Maybe they were trying to find a healthy path for it. But I mean, my high school and younger children, it is an ever-present temptation for them and their classmates. For those applying to college, they know that everyone is using AI for their college application essays, and it is incredibly tempting. And I think we would say unequivocally that there are uses of AI that are sinful in passing off work as yours that's not yours.
Yeah, that's a Ninth Commandment issue. We're not going to mince words about this.
Exactly.
Like, plagiarism is an issue of lying, right? Absolutely.
Yeah, and so in academia, you and I both went to seminary. We know the stress of writing papers that you don't know enough about. You don't have enough time to write. We know the stress of how you prepare a sermon.
Yeah.
Right, and so so that's a moral category. That's not the only thing we're dealing with AI, but maybe that's a clear line that we could draw, without nuance.
Yeah.
A million other areas that AI comes to mind. Anything for you?
I mean, I just haven't figured it out in practice. Maybe I'm not smart enough to know how to use it. I mean, I've heard of all sorts of cool and legitimate uses for it. I mean, it's obviously off limits for us in ministry for sermons. Like, I'm just going to say it. If a young guy is out there wondering, hey, can I use AI in my sermon writing? I'm just going to say a blanket no. Once you've been preaching for longer than I have, then maybe yes. Like, maybe you've just hit the point of experience enough to start using it to help. But it really doesn't help you become a better preacher. It isn't the same as opening a thesaurus and looking up different words for different, expanding your vocabulary. It just does the work for you. It's just a shortcut. So don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. But like I said, I've heard of all sorts of maybe administrative uses of AI that seem really cool. I can't figure it out. I end up spending hours and hours and hours trying to get AI to do the thing I want it to do. So I don't say, maybe I'm just making a fool of myself now. I'm fine with that. I just say all that to say, I really don't know if we've figured it out. And as a society as a whole, right? Everybody, a bunch of companies and people out there have leaned into AI, and maybe it is the future. But I mean, there was a time where this was phones, and in hindsight, maybe we could have been slower on the roll of phones. This was the case for all sorts of things where there's a huge boom at first that everybody's really excited about. I just think that there is a healthy skepticism of the easy thing that Christians should have, because that goes all the way back to the Garden of Eden and the fruit. You can get the knowledge by just taking the fruit, just eat the fruit, take the shortcut, right? Satan tempts Jesus this same way. Oh, you don't have to die. Just bow down and worship me. God's not interested in shortcuts. He's interested in the long-suffering, patient endurance, because that's what he does with us. So I just think that there's a good, healthy skepticism there. That said, I also have just used it in ways that I think it's maybe even unintentionally manipulative. Hey, give me some quotes from some historical Puritans about X or Y or Z topic that we're teaching on. And I've had it give me quotes, and I'm like, oh, that's a really good one. Where is that from? And it has responded, well, that's not a verbatim quote. I mean, if that's not enough for a lot of people to say, maybe I should slow my roll. Now, if other people have more time than me to invest into learning how to use it well, I welcome that. I just don't have a whole lot of time for that myself. And again, that's fine. But I just don't know that we're there yet.
Yeah,
I think we're so on the front end of this.
Yeah, I think a principle you're bringing up all technology is new. All new technology feels like it's like magic to us.
Right.
It's doing something we didn't know was possible.
Right.
And there's an old quote, I can't remember who said it, but sort of about advances. It's that we only ask if we could do it. We never ask if we should do it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so sort of
Yeah.
everything is new, and I think AI is here to stay.
Is that from Jurassic Park? Yeah,
Is it Jurassic Park?
I think it is Jurassic Park. Yeah.
The wise.
That's a great movie. No, go ahead.
It is Jurassic Park. Thanks for calling me out. I think we're in this, with all new technology, we're in this era of the newness of it. And what I hear you saying is, Christians, it's not amoral. Nothing is amoral.
Right.
And so...
That doesn't mean it's immoral.
Right.
Though there certainly are immoral uses.
Yeah.
But we don't have our hands around this.
Yeah, I think we want to try to recognize both the head in the sand approach doesn't work.
Right.
But also the running full-fledged to be at the forefront, cutting edge of technology, and doesn't work either. And I think shortcut's a good word for it. I think my big concern about AI is it prevents us from being human. It masks our humanity of learning and growth and development. I mean, the few skills that I have now in life are the result of years of failure, of trying, of writing bad sermons, of having giving bad pastoral advice, of bad parenting, and it's it's that failure and trying again and learning that the Lord grows me as an individual. Yeah. And the shortcut nature of AI endangers that. Right. And so it's let's just be wary.
Yeah.
But let's also not be skeptical of everything.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll pull up ChatGPT again.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll send it through. Something else. Hey, make this other Excel spreadsheet for me. Make this one better. So I'm not necessarily going full nuclear approach on that, like I did with my social media accounts. But if maybe I'll say to those watching this video, get in the comments. Like, what am I missing? Show me how to do this. I don't have time to watch a 3-hour video on how to use AI well.
Yeah. So let's wind this down and say, if you've watched this far, don't watch another video.
Yeah.
Park your phone. Go touch grass. Right. Technology is a wonderful tool, and as Christians, we learn to wisely use the things that God has given us with faith, with obedience, with humility, and let's take that same approach as we would to any discipline, any area of our life, and apply it to technology. Humbly knowing we don't know everything, humbly knowing it's going to change, our approach to it probably will change, but the Lord does not change, and we rest in Him and we trust in Him in all things.
Amen.